We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
Large corporations are making potential.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
It's time to buckle up for making sense of the madness.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and it's time to talk about the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Trump administration situation outside of a large panel, okay? And even the panel that I just did with the Independent Media Alliance and Ryan Christian and Steve Poikonen, although, that was a smaller panel, I think that we have to acknowledge what all the evidence is showing, okay, and what direction we're clearly moving in. And what is that direction? Some sort of a limited hangout solution in which Ghislaine Maxwell is more than likely freed in a semi-short amount of time. I will say will more than likely be before the end of this Trump administration. And if that doesn't sound catastrophic to you, well, the way that the establishment, the predator class, the intelligence community, the banking system is looking at it, it would be much more catastrophic for them if they cannot find a way to truncate all of this and only name a few names. Now, there have been 2 meetings behind closed doors with the Department of Justice and Ghislaine Maxwell where she was supposedly given, quote unquote, limited immunity. Limited immunity. Now, what exactly does that mean? I don't know that any of us can understand what that means. Remember, we've already been denied the files regarding to the Palm Beach case, and those files really would be of little significance compared to so many of the other files that we know exist. Just quickly, I want to show you these. These are the binders in the New York home of Epstein, which were labeled. You notice that they have the blue Post-its on it, labeled as evidence, and that they felt the need to black out what appears to be either the labeling or maybe some photographs right there. Now, those are binders full of material. Forget about the hard drives we know about, okay? Forget about the burned discs that we've seen in the same lot. And again, so frustrating. Like right here. The burned discs. The DVDs that are labeled with dates on them. Okay? And that's one drawer. We got to see one drawer of that. We're talking, they're not giving us the 2008 stuff. And in this video, we're going to show you, and by the way, here are the hard drives. And I believe this one right here is the safe. Oh, no, those are the documents of Bradley Edwards, just from the lawsuit, okay? And we're not talking about again, we're not, I mean, look at that. Those 4 stacked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably 15 across. That right there is one case in which Bradley Edwards won. You know, we have that letter from Epstein where he concedes, right? A lot of people don't want to talk about that either. I get it. It's really hard. It's hard talking about the actual evidence that we have. And there's just been so much ignorance surrounding the case of a client list that doesn't exist because they weren't running an underage brothel. That is not how this worked, okay? And I think that also needs to be discussed because just about every panel, they talk about a quote-unquote client list. That's non-existent. If you want to talk about clients, you would talk about the people that employed Epstein in the realm of banking, did business in the realm of arms dealing and weapons systems, and then also in the modeling arena. Now, that doesn't mean that he wasn't trading these girls, women sometimes, off with people like Jean-Luc Brunel. Like, that would be the closest person I would say, the evidence shows clientele. In other words, the exchange of women outright. No, he's holding all these parties, all these get-togethers with all these different women and girls. And when he was trying to cut a deal or compromise somebody or influence somebody, that's when this came into play. And that would be the blackmail or insurance aspect as well. Okay? That's how it actually worked. And many of these girls that were brought in, literally hundreds we know about in the Miami Beach case alone, all right? A lot of them were one and done. In order to get, or we just don't know what happened to them. That's another thing that's not really talked about. You know, some of these women have discussed how there were death threats made against them, that they were told, no one would miss somebody like you when they're out in the middle of the desert. Everybody talks about going to the island. There's 2 islands. There's transhumanism taking place on those islands. A lot of people are now talking about the quote-unquote gargoyles on the island and the sun, because finally O'Keefe Media did something on it. I showed everybody that stuff. Everybody that stuff more than 5 years ago. More than 5 years ago when Rusty Shackelford posted the drone footage of the sun. Right? It's in the thumbnail I made on that one. So the amount of ignorance out there via the alt media is only superseded by the amount of, narrative-driven establishment Johnny nonsense you get in the mainstream. It's not great either way. And what I predict is you're more than likely going to see attachments to guys like Brunel. I would say, when we're talking about a time now, they're talking about Russiagate. They may do the same thing with Bill and Hillary Clinton because they clearly have a relationship with Epstein in the sense of the Clinton Foundation, in the sense of his actual presidency. But then you start exposing some of these other outer realm organizations that Epstein was a part of. Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. Those are 2 words that are really not in the vernacular at this point, not only of the mainstream media, which barely talks about them and only does so when they want to praise those establishments, right? But in the alternative media, right? It's all Davos. It's all World Economic Forum. They hardly talk about those organizations. And if you start bringing them all together, and you find out that, again, Jeffrey Epstein essentially is the real face of espionage, is the real face of spying. And it's not just MI6, right? Like James Bond. And it's not just Jason Bourne and Black Ops and the Central Intelligence Agency. And it's not just, fun times with the Zohan with Israeli intelligence. It's all 3, sometimes more, working in tandem, sometimes working against to compromise, depending on who the highest bidder is. And you find out you're the ones financing this stuff. And it actually involves, even though that, there's some movies out there, Red Sparrow, that show you like how they train some of the actual like sex operatives that aren't working under anybody other than the actual intelligence, like taking direct orders from intelligence. That's usually not how it works. Usually works Epstein style, where they take somebody like that guy and he's the one that builds this harem up. And they don't know that they are, in a blackmail organization because there's so many other things they're involved in. That's why there's so many layers to this story. But again, there's some people outright that'll just say, oh, that's all a conspiracy theory. Meanwhile, we've sourced all of our material. We've shown you how many documents on this show over the years as soon as they were published on Court Listener, usually back in 2017 through 19, when there was somewhat of a dump. Not these fake dumps that barely had anything, unredacted. And certainly there was like no new documents, a lot of duplicate documents that have been out there. All right, so we're going to go through that. We're going to also show you the letter from Trump, and we're going to analyze that, whether it's fake or not. So I didn't, if you watch those panels, I didn't just break out my jump to conclusions, Matt, and go, that's fake or that's real. No. We have a thing called discernment, and I'm going to let you guys judge for yourself whether you think it's real. I lean towards the thing probably being real. Now, Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion on that story. We'll see where that goes. That Trump has won in court before, but he's also certainly lost in court before. And I get it. I don't buy into the E. Jean Carroll thing at all. And that's the conundrum for people, right? I say that, oh, you're sticking up and you're holding water for Trump. What other broadcast has been so open about the Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein relationship from the beginning? This one. No, there's no other broadcast that was even close. Sorry. And I'm a smidgen of a little guy. We're going to show you some more pictures. I mean, you saw the thumbnail, right? Prince Andrew, Melania, Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, all in a picture together. Right? Remember, Prince Andrew, arms dealer. Just way of the world, guys. Way of the world. So we're going to show you that letter. We're going to go over these two meetings with the Department of Justice. And I've got two videos we're actually going to play along in this one. It's a big Epstein broadcast for everybody. I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We're going to do an ABC News piece on all this and the meetings and the Department of Justice and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer talking and analyze it, come and go as it goes. And then we got Meet the Press with my boy Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna talking about their bill to get the Epstein files, the files released. But again, here's the big conundrum there. Are you going to be able to release files that not only expose a intelligence network, but expose the crimes of people still living that may involve children? You'd need indictments and prosecutions. And I don't know if that's physically possible. And I think that right now they're trying to wrap up the loose ends. They're talking to Ghislaine, trying to figure out what kind of special counsel they want to do, the whole nine. All right. Thumbs it up. Subscribe, share, ring the bell. If you're watching this on YouTube and you have subscribed and you are new and you like this content, please ring the bell or you're not going to get notifications. We're kicking and screaming, scratching back. We're still not even at the peak of where we were. When we get to 74,000, I think that will officially be more than we've ever had on the channel, but I'll have to look into that. We're a ways away from that, okay? And then on top of that, I need your support, okay? Raising the alarm bells. You want to see content like this? You like real alternative media? Thank you so much, Gina. We really do appreciate it. There are other links down below. Small and large, cannot do it without you. Let me repeat that. Cannot do it without you. Love to get a gig with the alternative media, but they come few and far between. And quite frankly, we've seen so much of the alternative media start going into the left-right paradigm. The ones that don't necessarily and do give myself a voice, they can't make it financially. The algorithms ain't great, folks. So please, please, please consider donations, small and large. Like I said, other than the Buy Me Coffee, the links are down below. And remember, all the documentaries are free too. Please give them out. All right. So this is allegedly the 50th birthday party Donald Trump thing. Now, a lot of people dismissed it right out of hand, and they said, well, it doesn't sound like Trump writing it. I don't know that he wrote it. Okay, I could see him going, oh, write me something funny for Jeffrey, hands it off, and then he'd sign off on it. And then I would imagine then he did actually do the doodle, right? Like, Trump doesn't doodle. I've never seen Trump doodle in my life. Okay, whatever. I'm not even saying 100% this is real, but I'm not doubting it. And I will say at the very bottom, where obviously, it's a vagina joke and it's his signature, sure looks like Donald Trump's signature to me. Okay? So I'm not endorsing it, but if you were to ask me, gun to my head, odds on this one, 80% plus real. I'm about 80+% sure this is real. Does it prove anything criminal? No. But it gets into their relationship with, the whole model world. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that relationship. It's really, really bizarre. Oh, did I get rid of all my my pictures? No, there they are. There they are. All right, because, we're going to read this and then I'm going to get into this. But, you see all these pictures of them together. Trump, Melania, arm in arm. He wished her well when she got arrested. There they are together. There's just the two of them. It's the Prince Andrew one with Epstein lurking in the background. There's Bolton and Ghislaine right there in the background. There she is again. Epstein's cutting deals in the background of some of these. There's Naomi Campbell, right? The modeling world and Epstein and Melania, there's a real crossover there. It's a real crossover. Just a real thing, guys. Just point it out. Okay? So let's read this. We're going to bring it up. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, everybody. Voiceover. This one's us. There must be more to life than having everything. Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Okay, so Donald's telling me we have certain things. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, what is it? Something enigmas never age? What is that? Yeah. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And then Jeffrey says, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the first time I saw you. And then it says, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Another wonderful secret, okay? And it's got, Trump's address on the bottom and the thing. Looks like it could be real to me. All right, now, we're going to play this clip from ABC News about these meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell. And before we do that, I just got to say it again. We know the names of many of the co-conspirators here, all right? Here we have Adriana Ross, Nadia Marcinkova, Sarah Palin, and Leslie Groff. Right here, it's pretty evident the non-prosecution agreement named them. Palin, Groff, Ross, Marcinkova, all right, as part of that plea deal with, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell. There it is. And they thought that person may testify against them. Didn't happen. But here they all are. Again, another open secret. If people want to know the actual associates and quote-unquote clients, that'd be a great place to start. Great place to start. Now, again, we have these two closed-door meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell. Who knows what she said, but let's get the mainstream take on it.
The Jeffrey Epstein case, President Trump refusing to rule out pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently serving 20 years behind bars for sex trafficking. The president, on his way to Scotland, said, I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about. Meanwhile, sources tell ABC News Maxwell received limited immunity for her 2 days of meetings. And what we're learning tonight about what she was asked. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, President Trump's refusing to rule out a pardon for Jeffrey Epstein's former companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking teenage girls.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she cooperated?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
As the president spoke, Maxwell was meeting for the second day in a row with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who until recently was Trump's personal lawyer. Trump once socialized with Maxwell and Epstein. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they'd had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years. Maxwell has long faced questions.
So let's talk about that, by the way, just really quickly. It does seem like that could be the timeline. Like those pictures I just showed you were early 2000s, 2000, pre 9/11. So, 2019, he says they had a falling out in 2004-ish. Very, very possible. But if that's the truth, then that doesn't seem to coincide with the timeline exactly of Virginia Giuffre Roberts. Seems like that should have taken place a little bit earlier. But and maybe it was a business deal. Just pointed out.
Ask you about all the allegations that have come out, Ghislaine.
Happy New Year.
When she was arrested, the president said he wished her well. Sources tell ABC News it was Maxwell who requested this week's meetings with the Deputy Attorney General and that she was granted a limited form of immunity so she could answer questions without fear it could later be used against her.
She was asked maybe about 100 different people. She answered questions about everybody. And she didn't hold anything back.
In May, Attorney General Pam Bondi reportedly told the president his name appeared in the Justice Department's Epstein files multiple times. Trump denies that briefing ever happened.
Were you on your name appearing in the Epstein files ever?
No, I was never briefed, no.
Being named is not evidence of wrongdoing.
So anyway, we know that Trump is in these files because he was named by somebody who was a 14-year-old girl in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, but not named as somebody who was doing anything sexually wrong. And yes, that's where the break comes for me. All right, even though they had a relationship, and yes, Trump ran Teen USA and all that other stuff. If they had something on Trump and underage girls, I feel like that obviously would have been out there in not only the 2016 but the 2020 election and then the 2024. Sorry. I think that's where the rubber hits the road. I don't think that's the relationship. However, the reports that supposedly it was a party that was thrown for Trump to find his third wife, and it was a bunch of models, and it was put on by Epstein, and Melania was a part of that. I think that's up in the air. I don't dismiss that out of hand. I have no idea. I know that that's out there, but that doesn't make him look good. You get it? And as far as a briefing on the Epstein files, of course he's been briefed on the Epstein files. Okay, 1,000%. Whether it was by Bondi or somebody else, whether it was during a briefing on, whether he called for a briefing on the Epstein files and his name, let's cut it with the giant nonsense.
Bondi has refused to release the files despite previously promising to do so. Trump, whose top supporters, including FBI Director Kash Patel, spread conspiracy theories about Epstein, is eager to change the subject.
I'm not focused on conspiracy theories.
And look, there's the irony, right? That guys like Patel and Bongino did. They went on the podcast rounds and constantly invoked Epstein and constantly told us how they were going to clean up the swamp, right? And look, with this DOJ thing and Russiagate and all that other stuff, great. I don't think it's going anywhere at all, unfortunately. Are you ripping the veil off? A little bit, but those people that have been following it have known this for a while, and all this in action shows you that executive within an executive. Think about it again. That first time that you have Trump's Acosta having to resign within 48 hours of not answering the question of the reports that he was told to give Epstein a sweetheart deal because he was part of intelligence. And then part of that sweetheart deal, of Epstein getting to leave essentially almost every day. That part of that is Epstein's providing information to the FBI. And we don't know which FBI guy signed off on that either. These are the realities of the situation. You understand? You don't want all that unraveling. And then, you know, Epstein with this quote-unquote harem, you get into Adnan Khashoggi and the Iran-Contra network, and Epstein just happens to have a fake passport during that time period out in Saudi Arabia where a bunch of the arms deals were being cut. Israel is involved in Iran-Contra, picking up the weapons from Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, flying them to Bolivia and then to South America. Come on.
Story hasn't gone away, which sent the Justice Department's #2 official to Florida to meet the woman who helped Epstein recruit, groom, and abuse girls over the course of a decade.
And it wasn't just one woman. She's just the main dog.
Annie Farmer was one of the women who testified against Maxwell.
She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse.
What?
Okay? So there you go. I mean, again, you read these things, and we've interviewed Maria Farmer here. You could go find that interview from many, many years ago. She talks about Trump having a relationship with Epstein, seeing him there. She talks about Dershowitz being there earlier than Dershowitz is supposed to be there. She also discusses Ivanka, the wife of Trump, having a relationship with Maxwell. Do you really think that's out of the realm of possibilities when you see those type of pictures? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Maxwell wants now to get out of prison.
Of course, everybody knows Miss Maxwell would welcome any relief. She's been in very difficult conditions for 5 years, and so she would welcome any relief.
Look at that right there. He is here to be an attorney fixer. And I don't know, who they're saying is a sexual predator / pedophile here. But, he is there to be the attorney fixer, for sure.
Her lawyer tells me she did.
There it is. Trump is the sexual pedophile. Again, show me the money on the pedophile part. And honestly, even the sexual predator stuff, show me the money on it. Like from what I've seen, everything seems, even Stormy Daniels, who I have no doubt they had a sexual relationship, said that everything was consensual. Okay.
Did not ask for a pardon today, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did not offer one. But late today, the president making clear it's not off the table.
A lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got.
The Deputy Attorney General said, Lindsay, he would share what he learned from Ghislaine Maxwell at the appropriate time. And we should note, Lindsay, meetings like this with law enforcement officials are often recorded.
And who knows? I would assume, man, that's a tough question. I would assume they recorded it, whether they'll admit they recorded it or it ever hits the public arena. I don't know. Hey, Bannon, we're still waiting on your Epstein tapes. And by the way, that's another story that I think that, we'll do it live. We haven't done it.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So Epstein's brother has called, let's see, the Hollywood Reporter's reporting on it. And now a lot of people are reporting it. But Epstein's brother wants to see the unseen footage. All right, that's it. Hold on, let's just bring it right over here. So, the New York Post, I'm sure they're getting that from Roger Stone. He's the one that probably leaked it. The tale of the tapes. He says it's a documentary, but the 15 hours of footage Bannon shot with Jeffrey Epstein were reportedly training for a 60-minute style redemption tour that never happened and paid for by Epstein himself. And Bannon hasn't sued. Okay? That's what the reports have been from the beginning. He put out the footage from the monsters, but he's supposedly sitting on 15 hours of those tapes, and Epstein's brother wants to see Bannon's footage. I want to see it. And I'm not even saying he's going to be telling the truth, but don't shouldn't we see what Epstein has to say about his relationships with Trump or Gates or Brunel or RFK Jr. or all these other Peter Thiel, people who are in the Rolodex? Shouldn't we know that? I want to know it. Love to know it. All right, with that being said, we're gonna do it to it, and we're gonna do Massey and Ro Khanna on Epstein.
And joining me now, a bipartisan duo who is teaming up to force a House vote demanding the release of the Epstein files. Republican Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky and Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California. Welcome to Meet the Press to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much for being here. I want to start with a question for both of you. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who will be my next guest, has accused you of being hypocritical for pushing for the release of these files now and not when former President Biden was in office. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Remember, President Biden and his DOJ had these files for 4 years. Neither of those guys said a word about it. Thomas Massey is suggesting that this is some sort of watershed moment. We are all on the same page trying to advance the truth, full truth and transparency.
Again, I don't know that this is a watershed moment. I think people expected it after the fact that Trump didn't do it round one, and they got all hopiumed up because you did get the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell under Trump. But then you had Epstein, the only guy now that has successfully killed himself in MCC in the past 20 years, go away. Right? And then the conviction of Maxwell after the fact. She wasn't even picked up until after the suicide. People forget the timeline here. And all that gets superseded by the COVID 1984 nightmare. Okay, the Biden administration never wanted to talk about this. Look, the Trump administration wants to get out in front of all this. Start releasing the Wiener laptop. Okay, start acknowledging the Hunter Biden laptop. Like, there's been basically no talk of that either. No one talked from the Trump administration about the Biden's daughter's diary, talking about inappropriate showers with her father. I mean, God.
And the idea that he's suddenly so concerned about it is curious to me. He waited until President Trump was elected to bring
Hypocritical?
Seems
that's because all these people promised they were actually going to do something about it, and went on television saying they were going to do something about it. And a bunch of the base, number one, you have the lunatic base that totally believes in white hats and QAnon nonsense and fairy tales and unicorns and superheroes, right? They really thought it was going to happen. But then there were decent people on the peripheral that, don't know much about the case, but it's reached meme level. And they know, they think Democrats bad do this. Why not Trump get justice? Why not Trump drain deep state swamp? Booga booga. They can't get it. They don't know.
That way to me.
Congressman Khanna, let me start with you first. Why are you pushing for the release of the Epstein files now and not during President Biden's administration?
Well, Speaker Johnson's a friend. We came into Congress together, but I hope he'll join us for transparency. Actually, in 2019, I tweeted out that I was working with Elijah Cummings to have a full investigation of the Epstein situation and the debts associated with it. Then in 2021 and in 2024, the courts started to release Epstein files. Then you had a situation where the president of the United States, President Trump, says, when he's president, we're going to release all the files. And Pam Bondi says that there's a client list. There may not be a client list, but we're going to release all the files. I didn't say anything while giving him the benefit of the doubt in the first few months. What triggered this is Pam Bondi issuing a memo saying there's nothing more to be seen.
There you go. That's what triggered it. And by the way, I just looked in the comment section. First of all, we only have 70 likes. Can we get 100? Can we get 100 thumbs up? Also, comment down below, not just in the live stream. And Muppet Pimpin', longtime viewer of the show. No dye job, bro. No dye job. Sam Tripoli, when I went on the Union of the Iwana like a month and a half ago, thought I had dyed my hair. These are just the grays with the blacks hitting it. Like, if you want to get in there, there's no dye. It's just I get haircuts and I try to shave out as much of the grays as possible. And then sometimes it doesn't look as white on top. But no, we're not dyeing our hair. That's the lighting. There's a green screen behind me. Got the little motion graphics. How dare you? With that, I'm going to do a shameless plug here as we continue watching this. Please consider supporting the broadcast. There's the Buy Me a Coffee right there and the other links. Please, need your support, everybody. Let's get back to it.
After saying that there was an Epstein file and a list, and that's what triggered this crisis of trust. That's why we need a full disclosure now, and why I have teamed up with Representative Massey and 11 other prominent Republicans to demand that.
Well, Congressman Massey, let me turn to you. What say you? Are you being hypocritical by demanding this now and not sooner?
No, not at all. Look, the release of the Epstein files is emblematic of what Trump ran for and why he got the populist vote. There seems to be a class of people beyond the law, beyond the judicial system, that operates outside of all of that. And we all thought that when Trump was elected, he would be the bull in the china shop and that he would break that up and bring transparency. Frankly, it wasn't until just recently that I realized that people who were allegedly working on this weren't sincere in their efforts. And also, politics is the art of the doable. There's enough public pressure right now that we can get 218 votes and force this to a vote on the floor. Somebody should ask Speaker Mike Johnson, why did he recess Congress early so that he didn't have to deal with the Epstein issue? He can bring this to the floor at any point, yet he's chosen to send us home early for August recess.
Thank you, Massey. Thank you, Massey. And that's the thing. We need guys like Massey that aren't just going to bend the knee every time Trump does the wrong thing. And Trump's done the wrong thing on this out of the gate. And I warned everybody. All right? He wished Ghislaine Maxwell well when she was arrested. We never got to the bottom of the Epstein suicide under him. Right? When his own Attorney General, Bill Barr, is bad news, mother trucking Brown, start to finish. And that's why guys like Barr, guys like Pompeo that tried to get into this second, they know. The public was just like, the mention of Pompeo. People were like, no. And then he appeased his base with his people he put in. And guys like Massey thought he was being genuine. And no mas. Not genuine.
Well, Congressman Massey, let me delve into this with you. We will get to Johnson in just a moment. The Department of Justice says they will not be releasing further Epstein material in order to protect what they say is more than 1,000 victims, many of whom were underage. I want to read you a little bit of a DOJ memo which writes, quote, sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. One of our highest priorities is combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims. Perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein serves neither one of those ends. What is your response to the concern that releasing these files could ultimately hurt the victims, Congressman Massey?
Well, look, that's a straw man. Roe and I carefully crafted this legislation so that the victims' names will be redacted and that no child pornography will be released. So they're hiding behind that. We're trying to get justice for the victims and transparency for America.
Think about that. There really has been no criminal justice for any of those victims at all. Zero. Okay? And every time people want to act like, you know, you're standing on the victim. You haven't even mentioned the victims. The victims have never gotten a criminal case outside of the Miami case that totally and completely failed them. And you can argue the Ghislaine Maxwell case, right? That comes totally later. That was truncated. She's appealing it. She just spoke to the DOJ behind closed doors. So that should let you know how hard it was for the actual victims to get justice in the past 20 years. Remember those cases in Miami 2007, 2008? This is going on, from the 90s at least. And when you really look into it, probably from the 80s. Robert Barnes jumped in on one of those Mario Nafal broadcasts and said, you look at this guy, and he's connected to every nefarious character you can imagine over the past 4 decades. That is correct.
And so, we've redacted things before. We don't want to hurt the victims. We're doing this for the victims. I think it's just something that they're hiding behind. And at the end of that statement, I heard something about conspiracy theories or something like that. Look, they're the ones, it's the president's own attorney general, FBI director, and children who said that, and vice president, who said that these files need to be released. We're just trying to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, Congressman, kind of take another piece of this based on what you are proposing in this legislation. The names of, frankly, anyone who flew on Jeffrey Epstein's planes or visited any of his properties, anyone named in the files who was not a victim will likely be publicly released if these files are released. Is it fair to release files that may never see their day in court, but could be devastating, quite frankly, to the people mentioned in them?
Ghislaine, it's a fair question, but I want to just focus first on the victims. Bradley Edwards, who's the lawyer for the victims, has demanded a full release of the files, obviously with the victims' names redacted. He said the Justice Department has never cared about the victims, about centering the victims. They gave Jeffrey Epstein the plea deal the first time. They never cared about victims' rights, and no one has asked the victims what they want. They do want these files released for closure and for healing. Now, there's a reason the Justice Department usually doesn't release information before charging people, and I understand the sensitivity of that. But in this case, given that this has created a trust in our very government itself, given people feel that the rich and the powerful have been not held accountable, that they have a different set of rules, and that there may be government officials involved.
Not maybe. Government officials have been named and were involved, if you believe the victims, period. That's a big issue. And Bradley Edwards was the lawyer. Again, we showed you just from the Bradley Edwards case. Just from the Bradley Edwards case. Let's see if we pull up right there. Oh, wrong one. We're going to bring that down. That's the Mount Doom one. Where were we? Let's see what we can get here. I think it's this one maybe? Yeah. I think, no, that's not it. Sorry, folks. That's a devastated city in Gaza that was 700 years old. Yeah, no big deal there. Do we have it? No, I think it's not that one. Hold on. We're doing it live, or second time today.
We'll do it live. Okay.
Let's see.
No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live.
Yeah,
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So there it is. There's Bradley Edwards right there. There's old Brad in front of all those documents. See it? Boom, boom. Okay? That's just the Bradley Edwards case. Lots of cases. Lots of cases. Think they're releasing all that? Come on now.
Possibly could be foreign government involved, business involved, financial fraud involved. The president should say, I ran on this. The attorney general promised this. We're going to do a clean, full release. And I think the American people are fair. They're going to be able to distinguish between someone who got a grant from Jeffrey Epstein to do cancer research versus rich and powerful men who were abusing underage girls.
Congressman Massey, I do want to go back to the fact that the House was adjourned early. House Speaker Mike Johnson has defended that decision. He says, look, the White House is already pushing for the release of the grand jury materials. Obviously, that's been held up in court. He's accusing you of trying to inflict political pain on your party by criticizing him for adjourning the House early. Is he right? Are you trying to inflict political pain with this criticism?
I don't know why it should be politically painful to be transparent. Is the pain he's talking about that somebody in our party will be embarrassed by those files? Then that's not a good excuse. Is the pain he's talking about is that the legislators, when they vote, have to pick between protecting embarrassment of the rich and powerful versus getting justice for victims? I don't really understand what he means by that. Why is it painful for Mike Johnson to call a vote on this? And it's, the American people deserve this, regardless of what the political ramifications are for the speaker.
Well, let's talk about Ghislaine Maxwell now. Of course, she sat for 2 days of interviews with DOJ officials. President Trump was asked, does he want to pardon her? He said he hasn't thought about it, but he's allowed to do it. Congressman Massey, first to you, would you support a pardon or commutation of Ghislaine Maxwell?
You know, that would be up to the president, but if she has information that could help us, then I think she should testify. Let's get that out there. And whatever they need to do to compel that testimony, as long as it's truthful, I would be in favor of.
Yeah, and let her provide information where they can find that baseline of evidence if they don't already have it. Because I'm sure she's aware from the previous raids of what the FBI already has. Just want to put that out there as well. And clearly, again, with the Department of Justice meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, they're trying to wrap this up in a truncated manner. Talk about holding up grand jury files. That's mainly a red herring. Okay? That's mainly a red herring.
Well, Congressman Khanna, I mean, look at her record. Convicted of sex trafficking of a minor, sex trafficking conspiracy. The list goes on and on. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell should be pardoned or have a commutation of her sentence, her 20-year sentence?
No, I don't, and I'm concerned that the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is meeting with her supposedly one-on-one. Look, I agree with Congressman Massey that she should testify, but she's been indicted twice on perjury. This is why we need the files. This is why we need independent evidence. But by the way, the only person who suffered political pain in this whole thing is Congressman Thomas Massey for telling the truth. He's got the president's entire team who got the president reelected coming down on him in his district, and it's just made him stronger.
Well, Congressman Khanna, I have to ask you, politically speaking, the implication for Democrats, there has been a lot of focus by yourself, by other Democrats on this issue of Jeffrey Epstein. Prior to this, you all were talking about the so-called big, beautiful bill, the fact that the CBO had estimated, for example, some 10 million people could be kicked off of their health care. Are you concerned that by focusing on Epstein, you could overshadow Democrats' message on pocketbook issues and hurt your chances in the midterms?
No, I'm not. Look, my core conviction is a new economic patriotism to reindustrialize America, a 21st century Marshall Plan for America, Medicare for all, opposing the Medicaid cuts. But you can't do anything constructive with government if you don't have trust in government. This is about trust in government. When John F. Kennedy was president, trust in government was 60%. Today it's in the teens. Congressman Johnson and I, Speaker Johnson and I came to Congress together. He was on the reform side too. He wanted to make government work. This is a perfect opportunity for him to say, look, the past is the past. Okay, I didn't love that he shut down government. Maybe on your show today, he'll commit that when we come back, let's have a vote. Remind him of what we were like, the conversations we had in our freshman class. This is about being a reform agent of transparency.
Again, this is not about transparency. Like when you talk about the big, beautiful bill and all these other things, look, that's where Trump really stabbed everybody in the back again. And I'm not even Team Muskernuts, but you look at that bill and the artificial intelligence stuff that's in that bill. Again, with the Chief AI Officer program, he's talking about Medicaid for all. Yeah, I so want the kind of health care that we got during COVID 1984. That sounds like a great idea.
Very quickly, before I let you both go, first, Congressman Massey, to you, will this pass? Will it come to the floor and pass the House when you return from August recess?
Well, I hope it does because, the question you asked, Roe, this is going to hurt Republicans in the midterms. The voters will be apathetic if we don't hold the rich and powerful accountable. I think when we get back, we can get the signatures required to force this to the floor. Speaker Mike Johnson should do the right thing and just bring it to the floor and not require us to force it. And he'll have a choice once we get those 218 signatures. Is he going to try and change the rules of the House of Representatives midstream or not? If he does, that becomes the vote for the American people.
Congressman Khan, I'm out of time, but yes or no, will it pass?
It will pass.
All right, there you go.
So they think this thing is going to pass. I don't think so. I think instead they're going to come up with some special counsel, Johnny nonsense, and you're going to have a truncated new investigation. They're going to really focus on one party, the salacious aspects. They will burn people that are more than likely dead in the hearings and have the questions all rigged. That's just the world we live in, guys. And it's funny because Bannon's the one pointing out how this was political kryptonite and saying that, you're going to lose 30 to 40 seats in the midterms because of this, but then he doesn't want to release his tapes. I mean, the irony is off the charts. It's off the charts. And look, it's going to take, unfortunately, citizen journalists, because the mainstream ain't doing it. If the mainstream was doing anything, the first thing they would have done in the Epstein arrest is dug deep on that fake passport. Okay? And what he was doing in the 80s and why he had a fake address and identity in Saudi Arabia. That would have been it should have been headlines everywhere, and it wasn't. Hey, and again, if the media wanted to do their job, they would continually talk about the associates of these people that we already know. Sarah Palin, Leslie Groff, Nadia Marcinkova, and Adriana Ross. And we had more people that were associated and named in the documents from 2017 to 2019. Again, we showed you a bunch of stuff here, and the vast majority of it you're not seeing on the mainstream, other than the stuff that I showed you from the mainstream and hopefully gave you a nuanced perspective. Still under 100 thumbs up if you're still watching the broadcast. Let's get those thumbs up. Let's get a comment down below. And I can't say it enough. I wish I didn't have to do it. I liked it when I had paid jobs. There are no paid jobs anymore. So I need you guys now more than ever. $5, $10, $15. Big donors. If you don't like the Buy Me a Coffee, there are other links down below. But I am serious. I cannot do it without you. Cannot do it without you. I want to thank everybody that has bucked up and helped out. You're going to see more and more broadcasts out there because we're doing it to it. We're pedal to the metal. And I hope that you're enjoying this. We're going to be doing one on the whole Russiagate situation and reality. Look, I wish people were going to jail too. Don't hold your breath. As always, it is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. Please share the documentary films down below. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined and Shade the Motion Picture. I absolutely love you guys, and we will see you all on the flip side.